Hi everyone. Welcome and thanks for showing up. This is Let's Talk About Decks, or what happens when you ask a 10-year-old to complete a field guide. So basically, what's going to happen here is we're going to go over some of the most interesting Pokédex entries that I have curated, and we are going to talk a little bit about them and the implications it has for the Pokemon world at whole. So let's get started. So first, we're going to talk about us a little bit. My name is Ami. I've been playing Pokemon since I was 10 years old, and my first Pokemon game was Pokemon Red. My favorite game is Pokemon X, and my favorite generations are 2 and 4. I like X because it has all the character customization and stuff, and I just really like being able to dress up my characters. I love Pokemon more than almost anything. I collect a lot of plushies, and my favorite Pokemon is Alolan Vulpix, which I have cosplayed in the past, and we actually met when I was cosplaying Alolan Vulpix. And my favorite types are Ice, Fairy, and Psychic.
Next, this is about me. My name is Tyler, and I've been on a never-ending Pokemon battle since I was 8 years old. My first game was Pokemon Red, and my favorite game is actually Crystal version. I'm a little old school. My favorite Pokemon are Mightyena and Dratini, and my favorite types are Fire, Dragon, and Dark.
So I'm going to go over a few disclaimers before we get started. So my pronunciation of some Pokemon names is going to be off a little bit, mostly Pokemon, but also like words in Japanese might be a little bit off. Don't get upset. I'm not an expert on Japanese mythology or science. I was an English major, so like a lot of these things I'm trying to explain in plain language, but I might get it wrong. I researched as well as I could, but please don't be mad at me. I tried to represent every generation in this PowerPoint, but it's really hard with some of the later generations because, as you guys probably are aware, there is no longer a national dex present in the Pokemon games. So sometimes the Pokemon from, like, say, Gen 7 or Gen 8 will only have like one or two Pokedex entries to choose from. And if they're not interesting, they're not going to be talked about. So yeah, like there's going to be a lot of Generation 1 represented in these. I try my best to like space it out, but it's still going to look like a lot of Generation 1. Just because there's maybe like 25 entries to choose from in total for Generation 1. But anyway, I have a lot of slides and not very much time, especially for this pre-recorded panel. So make sure you check out this panel at future cons because I will switch out the slides every single time, except for this one because this is a repeat, but I doubt many of you have seen it, so that's fine.
If you come meet us in person, you can get a ribbon.
Yeah, we have actual live programming panels going on at this convention. We have Create Your Own Pokemon, which is a workshop. And we have Smeargle Sketch, which is a drawing game show. So if you come out to one of those, we can give you a badge ribbon.
It's a new idea.
It's a new one. Yeah, Smeargle Sketch is a new one. Anyway, enough plugging for other panels. We got to get on to this. So first category is going to be the weird Pokedex entries. So these are the ones that just don't make sense in some way or just like make you go, huh. But anyway, we'll get started on those. First up, we have Slowbro.
Woohoo!
Lives lazily by the sea. If the shelter on its tail comes off, it becomes a Slowpoke again. So this one's kind of interesting because like only like Pokemon Yellow and one other game really talk about this, the fact that the tail falls off and it becomes a Slowpoke again. You would think that it would just stay a Slowbro, but apparently not. Apparently it doesn't have to, which is kind of interesting, right?
It has a choice.
Yeah, I guess it has a choice. It can become a Slowpoke, it can be a Slowbro, it can do whatever it wants. So basically, it might be the only Pokemon that actually can devolve according to lore, except like Mega Evolutions that are an obvious exception. So next we have Porygon. Porygon is capable of reverting itself entirely back to program data and entering cyberspace. This Pokemon is copy protected, so it cannot be duplicated by copying. You wouldn't download a Pokemon. This feels like there's DRM on everything these days. I bet there's like a Porygon smuggling. I bet there's like a secret Porygon smuggling ring in the Pokemon world where they just strip them of their copyright protections just to prove they can. Next, we have Toucanon. Known for forming harmonious couples, this Pokemon is brought to wedding ceremonies as a good luck charm. And you might be thinking, wait, why is this weird? And I'll tell you, or I'll show you. Because look at this bird. Does this look like the face of a bird that will bring harmony and joy to your marriage?
It looks like it's giving us the stink eye.
Yeah, it's a bird that wants to kill you and your spouse and everyone you invited to your wedding, especially since you probably took it out of its natural habitat to do so. Aw, Sobble! When scared, this Pokemon cries. Its tears pack the chemical punch of 100 onions, and attackers won't be able to resist weeping. What kind of unit of measure is that? The chemical punch of 100 onions, is that a scientific term?
This is why you don't get 10-year-olds to research.
This is exactly why you don't get 10-year-olds to research. I'm wondering if like 100 onions is like the 3 football fields of a measurement of distance, maybe?
It could be.
Chemical punch of 100 onions. Come on now. Mousehold. The 2 little ones just appeared one day. The group might be a family of related Pokemon, but nobody knows for sure. So the way Tandemaus evolves is so weird, and it calls breeding mechanics into question for the same reason Kangaskhan does, which is another weird one that I don't even want to begin to get into. But I have gotten into it, so we're not doing it this time. It makes my head hurt to try to comprehend how breeding works with this thing or these things or whatever they are. Is it multiple Pokemon? Is Mousehold the family unit? I'm guessing it is, and Tandemaus is the couple. Can there be a single mouse?
Research does not say, so
What if Tandemaus breaks up? Like, can they divorce?
I don't think it's that simple.
Are they born together? Are they siblings? Oh, I don't want to get into that. Okay.
That's for a whole nother panel, maybe.
There are so many questions, and I really need to know the answer, Mr. Nintendo. Please explain. In case anyone doesn't know, it just kind of evolves while it's in your party, and it doesn't have the usual evolution animation. It just levels up, and suddenly you have 3 or 4 mice where 2 mice used to be. Anyway, someone should just tell whoever wrote this Pokédex entry where babies come from, because I feel like that's part of the problem. On to the excessive Pokemon. So the Pokemon in this category, the entries usually involve something that is like impossible or almost impossible from a real world perspective, like excessive heat, excessive voltage, excessive speed, something like that. Pidgeot. This Pokemon flies at Mach 2 speed, seeking prey. Its large talons are feared as wicked weapons. For the record, Mach 2 speed is 1,534 miles per hour. The fastest animal in the human world is the peregrine falcon, which reaches an impressive 240 miles per hour, which is like, no big deal, but like this fictional bird reaches 6 times that speed easily. Next, we have Magmortar. It blasts fireballs of over 3,600 degrees Fahrenheit from the ends of its arms. It lives in volcanic craters. So just so you know, Magmar is not quite hot enough to melt steel beams, and that's impressive that it gets that close. But we're talking about Magmortar here, and he can melt steel beams. It fires fireballs of 3,600 degrees Fahrenheit, which is definitely enough to melt steel beams. And speaking of melting steel beams, let's introduce you to a few of like 10 other Pokemon that can totally melt steel beams and reach higher temperatures than Magmortar does. Delphox. Using psychic power, it generates a fiery vortex of 5,400 degrees Fahrenheit, incinerating foes swept into this whirl of flame. So Delphox can melt steel beams. It can do it twice over, which is way too much, right?
Yes.
Way too much. I don't understand why its fiery vortex is hotter than Magmortar's fireballs. When one of Magmortar's Pokédex entries even mentions it works to smelt metals. But whatever, I guess Delphox is hotter than Magmortar.
It was definitely a little bit of overkill.
And Delphox may be hotter, but it's not as hot as Camerupt. So, Camerupt has a volcano inside its body. Magma of 18,000 degrees Fahrenheit courses through its body. Occasionally, the humps on this Pokemon's back erupt, spewing the superheated magma. Magma is like 2,700 degrees, by the way. Camerupt could melt steel beams.
Do not sleep with this Pokemon.
It could melt steel beams several times over. It could completely obliterate them and pretty much everything else ever. Wake up, Mareeple. Camerupt shares the distinction of being the hottest Pokemon with Magcargo. Both are apparently 18,000 degrees, which is just too much.
Yeah.
Too hot. Way too hot. I don't want one. It's too hot. I will die. Dragonite. Dragonite is capable of circling the globe in just 16 hours. It is a kind-hearted Pokemon that leads lost and foundering ships in a storm to the safety of land. So, I don't know if the Pokemon world is significantly smaller than ours or what, but the Earth is about 24,901 miles around. So, for Dragonite to do this, it needs to fly at a speed of 1,556 miles per hour, which is more than Mach 2 speed, for the record. So, it's a bit faster than Pidgeot, which also has no business being so fast, as we've covered. But Dragonite's kind of worse because it would need to maintain that speed for the entire 16 hours without stopping or slowing down. And I don't think that's possible. I don't think so. Moving on to the educational. So we might bore you a little bit here, but we're going to go into some like actual lore, some actual myths. We're going to learn something today. We're also going to learn some actual like animal biology lessons. So that'll be fun. Paris. Paris has parasitic mushrooms growing on its back called Tochukaso. They grow large by drawing nutrients from this bug grass Pokemon host. They are highly valued as a medicine for extending life. So, Tochukasu is a real parasitic mushroom. It's also known as caterpillar fungus. And yes, it is also used in traditional Chinese medicine. The fungus grows within the larvae of certain bugs, kills and mummifies the host, and then sprouts from the corpse standing upright. It's classified as endangered in China due to overharvesting. So if you want to know what it looks like and be grossed out, this is what it looks like. The mushroom is the weird orangey thingy. And then the rest is not. Well, I mean, the rest is still mushroom, but like that's what it looks like. Drowsy. It puts its enemy to sleep and eats the victim's dreams, said to have descended from the legendary beast, Baku. And now we will show you what Baku looks like. That's Baku. So the Drowsy line and Muna lines have the same origin, basically, but this entry actually outright states that it's based on Baku. Baku is a mythical creature made by the spare pieces left over after the gods created all the other animals. In Japan, it's also the word for tapir. That's why it usually looks like a tapir, although the legendary creature can also be a chimera made of different animals, such as the giant panda, tiger, rhinoceros, elephant, and cow. But depictions vary. Baku eventually started being depicted as eating dreams like Drowsy and Hypno do. The dream eating aspect is usually specified to be nightmares, not dreams in general, but again, depictions vary. Baku is more of a protector in general, I think, protecting you from bad dreams if you summon it to eat your nightmares. But summoning is to be done sparingly, or it gets greedy and eats your hopes and good dreams too, which is kind of horrifying. But I guess Drowsy is supposed to be kind of a good guy, even if it looks kind of creepy.
It does look creepy.
Mawile. It uses its docile-looking face to lull foes into complacency, then bites with its huge, relentless jaws. So this is more mythology. Mawile is based on the Fudakuchi Onna, a yokai. Oh my gosh. So basically, she has two faces, one in the normal place in the front of her head and one hidden beneath her hair. The second face isn't as fully formed as the first face and is pretty horrifying. It's basically just a mouth, sharp teeth, and a tongue. Supposedly, the front facing mouth eats very little, while the rear facing mouth is ravenous. One traditional story has a man marrying what he thinks is a beautiful woman who doesn't eat, only to discover she has a terrible mouth on the back of her head that has been eating all of their rice and leaving him very hungry because he has no rice. Very rude, to be honest.
Very.
Relicanth. Thought to have gone extinct, Relicanth was given a name that is a variation of the name of the person who discovered it. So Relicanth is like directly based on a coelacanth, and while I normally wouldn't talk too much about Pokemon that are just a fictionalized version of a real life animal, this one is interesting enough. I do want to talk about it a bit. That's what a coelacanth looks like. So yeah, Relicanth really is just a coelacanth. There's like no variation there. It's just the fish. The Pokédex entry for Relicanth is basically exactly like its real life counterpart. Fossils were discovered in the 19th century, and it was assumed to be long extinct. Those fossils dated from 66 million years ago. So it was assumed that it was extinct. That was when it went extinct, but it didn't. A living specimen was found in 1938 among fish that a fisherman had caught in South Africa, and it turns out it just usually lives in the very, very deep sea, which, of course, we have had a hard time exploring. Other Pokedex entries for Relicanth talk about other things that are directly connected to coelacanth, such as it remaining basically unchanged for 100 million years. In real life, it's almost 400 million years. So this is one example where the Pokedex entry under exaggerates in a way.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely under.
And yes, coelacanth's scientific name is in honor of the museum curator who discovered the first specimen. So that part is also true. Arctovish. Though it's able to capture prey by freezing its surroundings, it has trouble eating the prey afterward because its mouth is on top of its head. I personally love how they implemented the fossil Pokemon in the Galar region, although I feel super bad for them.
Especially this one, since its mouth is on top
Yeah,
of its
its
head.
mouth is on top of its head. There are examples of chimeras in paleontology, and this doesn't happen as much anymore, but in the past it happened a lot. Historically, some fossils were treated like puzzle pieces, but they were like 20 different puzzles all mixed together, and they would try to make a cohesive picture out of them and failed a lot. There have been several famous cases of chimeras such as these. It's like funny, but you can't help but be frustrated if you're working on a puzzle and you're missing a piece, right? So you just want it to be done, even if it's not the right,
Yeah,
even if it doesn't come out to the right picture, right? You'll just like force that piece in there and be like, "Yep, it's good."
it feels
Right.
like all they did was they took the last piece of another puzzle and just stuck it in there.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did. Yeah, it's like, oh, we're missing a piece. Well, this one
Ooh,
looks
take it from the
similar.
Transformers
This looks okay. We'll do
puzzle.
that. Um, And I mean, if the puzzle is like thousands or millions of years old, you got to be expecting that you're going to miss a couple pieces somewhere along the line. This other piece looks good enough to me. Anyway, like the researchers reviving the Pokemon in this region screwed up big time. They have 4 different fossil pieces from 4 completely different species, and they try to put them together and end up with these horrific abominations, which they bring to life, causing them to live painful lives without the sweet embrace of death they can only dream about. I mean, look at this poor thing, as we've already established. Its mouth is on the top of its head. And I don't know why they thought that went there.
How does it even eat?
It it
Like,
has
I'm
trouble.
trying to
It has
wrap my
trouble
head
eating.
around that.
It has to hope that the prey just kind of goes into the top of its head.
Yeah.
That was a visual joke that nobody's going to get at this virtual panel. Sorry. The gross. So these are Pokedex entries that just make me go, ew, when I think about them, and could range from a mild ew to a complete gross out. Ew. We have Gloom first. Smells incredibly foul. However, around 1 out of 1,000 people enjoy sniffing its nose-bending stink. So it's the cilantro of Pokemon. Imagine having the Gloom smells good gene I wonder if that would like correspond to liking cilantro or not liking it. I'm going with it's liking it because I hate it and I don't want to be the person to whom gloom smells good.
Mhm.
It is cute though, I like it. Lick a tongue. It checks out whatever's around it by licking everything. If you don't clean off a spot where it's licked you, you'll break out in a rash. So this one's not entirely fair because the very design of Lickitung already grosses me out. So any Pokedex entry would do the same. But the mention of a rash kind of makes it more disgusting. And the fact no one else mentions it makes me think that this researcher is just like allergic to Lickitung. Because this rash thing is not mentioned in any other Pokedex entry.
Mm-mm.
It just sounds like the allergic reaction I get when my cats lick me. And I feel like this child who is collecting the data should probably go see a doctor because I don't think the experience is universal. Now I'm thinking about Pokemon allergies. Shellos. When it senses danger, it gushes a purple liquid. Some theories suggest this liquid is a greasy sweat induced by stress. This is specifically for the East Sea form, which is the blue one. The idea of a greasy purple sweat is absolutely vile to me. I thought Shellos was kind of cute, but like, no thank you. That is disgusting. Darumaka. Darumaka's droppings are hot, so people used to put them in their clothes to keep themselves warm. I don't care how cold I am. I'm not putting poop in my pocket. I mean, there's got to be a better way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there is a better way. That's why they
Definitely
don't
a
do it
better way.
anymore. Goomy, which is a super cutie. Its source of protection is its slimy, germ-laden mucous membrane. Anyone who touches it needs some thorough hand washing. I would take the risk. Goomy is just too cute. It would be worth the possible infections and sticky hands to be able to squish its forbidden gummy body. Would you touch it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would squish it. I go squish, squish. We're on to the cute Pokemon. So some of these may be Pokemon that you would traditionally find cute. And that's fair, but the cutest ones to me are the ones that come from Pokemon you wouldn't normally find cute. And most of this category is going to fit that category instead. The not traditionally cute, but the Pokedex entry makes it cute. This one is actually traditionally cute, though. Wartortle. When tapped, this Pokemon will pull in its head, but its tail will still stick out a little bit. I just imagine it like a little kitten trying to hide with its tail sticking out, like, you can't see me. Like this one. Just like this one.
Yeah.
So cute. Spheal. This Pokemon's body is covered in blubber and impressively round. It's faster for Spheal to roll around than walk. So I had to include this because it's so round, impressively round, as the Dex entry says. This is my favorite thing. My favorite thing.
I remember that mission in Legends
Yes.
Arceus.
I had to include a GIF from the best parts of Pokemon Legends Arceus. Look at it. Look at it roll.
I hated chasing that
It's
thing, but it was so satisfying.
It's so good. It's like peak character design right there. Round. Moving on. Unfortunately. Love Disc. Its heart-shaped body makes it popular. In some places, you would give a love disc to someone you love. I'm going to hand you a love disc because I love you.
Okay, thank you.
Once again, a visual joke. Ambipom. To affirm their kinship, members of this species will form a ring by linking their newly doubled tails together. On rare occasions, humans have been accepted into such rings. So this is like my favorite Pokédex entry of all time. I used to hate Ambipom and thought it was creepy, but this one entry changed my view on it completely. I, too, want to join the ring of friendship. Let us be friends and hold hands. Or tails. Hand tails. Araquanid. Despite what its appearance suggests, it cares for others. If it finds vulnerable, weak Pokemon, it protectively brings them into its water bubble. So my favorite cute entries are the ones that belong to Pokemon you wouldn't think of as cute, as I mentioned before. Especially ones like this, where they show their soft side. And then, of course, other entries ruin it by talking about how it brings, like, people and Pokemon into its bubble to, like,
Mhm.
drown them. But yeah, sometimes it's cute. The sad. These are Pokedex entries that just legitimately make me sad. They could be tragic, like they're the spirit of a dead human, or pathetic, where the researcher seems to hate the Pokemon for some reason, or whatever. But anyway, I feel bad for the Pokemon in these entries. Primeape. It has been known to become so angry that it dies as a result. Its face looks peaceful in death, however. It gets so angry it dies. Like, I almost put this in the terrifying category, but like that last part literally made me tear up. Its face looks peaceful in death. It only finds peace in death. Rest well, dear Primeape. Gengar. It apparently wishes for a traveling companion. Since it was once human itself, it tries to create one by taking the lives of other humans. This could go in the terrifying category as well. But the first thing I felt when I read it was sad. It's interesting that the moon entry is the only one that mentions it having once been human. All the other entries mention how Gengar plays tricks on people, how it delights in frightening people, how it steals the lives of people who get lost in the mountains. And yeah, it's a big bad ghost. Of course it's gonna do that. That's scary and all, but like this, Gengar is lonely. Gengar used to be a human, apparently. Gengar just wants a friend. Sure, it wants to kill someone to make a friend, but can you really blame it? Can you?
Probably not. I would definitely have it as a friend.
I mean, you can blame it. You're allowed to blame it. But still, this is the Gengar backstory we needed. Like, this is the start of its redemption arc. This isn't just Eevee. This is Gigantamax Eevee. Having gotten even friendlier and more innocent, Eevee tries to play with anyone around, only to end up crushing them with its immense body. It's like kind of sad. Like the poor baby just wants to be friends with everyone, but it's too big. It's like a Clifford the Big Red Dog situation, only sadder because Eevee is even cuter and more fluffy, and I want to hug it so badly, and I don't care if it crushes me. Yamask. Each of them carries a mask that used to be its face when it was a human. Sometimes they look at it and cry. This is so tragic, I don't really have anything to add to it. It has a constant reminder permanently attached to it of the living being it used to be. Sad. Mimikyu. It stands in front of a mirror trying to fix its broken neck as if its life depended on it. It has a hard time getting it right, so it's crying inside. Mimikyu, no, I love you. Everyone loves you. You don't have to try so hard. Okay. No more sad. Time for brutal. Brutal. It's brutal.
It's very brutal.
So these are the entries that weren't quite enough to put in the terrifying category, but they're still extremely violent in some way. It could be that the Pokemon is violent or what humans do to them is violent, but either way, my reaction was usually like, what? Beautifly. It has an aggressive nature. It stabs prey with its long, narrow mouth to drain the prey's fluids. I love the Pokemon like Beautifly and Gorbis that look pretty but will absolutely murder you in horrible ways. Glalie. It's Mega Glalie. The power of Mega Evolution was so strong that it smashed Glalie's jaw. Its inability to eat very well leaves Glalie irritated. I'd be irritated too. I say this a lot, but like Mega Evolution is literally just animal cruelty. It breaks its jaw when it mega evolves, so it can't even eat. Why do we do this? Why do we make them mega evolve if it's gonna cause them so much pain? Like, no wonder they're stronger. They're angry. Beware. This Pokemon has the habit of hugging its companions. Many trainers have left this world after their spines were squashed by its hug. This one is also sad, but no one said that something sad can't also be brutal, and it's my panel, so I can put it where I want. Beware only wants cuddles, but it's so strong, its hug will kill you. I would still hug it.
I would still hug it.
Yeah, I would absolutely hug it.
I would actually want Beware to be a massage specialist.
Like a masseuse.
Yes.
Just have to teach it to control its I skipped ahead before I meant to, but anyway. Drampa. If a child it has made friends with is bullied, Drampa will find the bully's house and burn it to the ground. Yeah, I probably would have wanted a Drampa friends when I was a kid if it would burn my bully's house down, honestly. Like, it's brutal, but it's kind of like...
I mean, who can blame it? If you're having a bad day, like, this thing will protect you.
It's a friend to children.
Yeah.
Hatchrim. The moment this Pokemon finds someone who's emitting strong emotions, it will pummel them senseless with its braids to silence them. So don't feel anything around this Pokemon ever. And as a side note, this will be a terrible Pokemon for me. Can you imagine it like beating you and you're like in pain because it's beating you, so you're feeling strong emotions about being in pain, and then it just beats you more?
Or you're
it's
with
like
the person
feeling.
or you're with the person you love and it's beating on you in front of the person you love.
Yeah. That's horrifying. Not a great Pokemon to have, like, unless you are completely calm all the time. So now we're on to the funny Pokédex entries. These ones make me laugh. Sometimes it's the wording, sometimes it just describes the funny aspect of the Pokemon, and either way, it's funny to me. Alolan Ninetales. I'm not biased. I did not put this in just because I like it the most. The reason it guides people all the way down to the mountain's base is that it wants them to hurry up and leave. Ninetales is just like, leave. Get out. Like, fine, I guess I'll show you to the base of the mountain, but don't come back. Like, unfortunately, other deck entries talk about how people worship it as the protector of the mountain because of this, basically. So
yes.
People are like, oh, you help people, so you're the protector. So
it's like, not really. I just wanted them to leave.
Yeah, so saving people's lives kind of backfired on it because people just show up now. They're like, crap. Magneton. When 3 Magnemite link together, their brains also become 1. They do not become 3 times more intelligent. The Pokédex entries where they just kind of roast the Pokemon are some of the best. It's like, yeah, you have 3 heads, but you're still dumb. Mean. Mega Gengar. It can pass through other dimensions and can appear anywhere. It caused a stir one time when it stuck just one leg out of the wall. It's like I refuse to put any variety of Gengar in the terrifying category where it really should belong. But I don't care. The mental image I had of Gengar sticking one leggy out a wall just made me laugh. Also, I didn't realize it had legs.
Yeah.
So I had to look up its full body spray, and oh my god, it skipped leg day. I hate it. I hate that I looked it up, and I hate that I now have to share it with you guys.
It skipped leg day immensely.
Yeah. It never went to leg day, let's be real.
Him and Donald Trump workout.
But fun fact, it's very difficult to find a clear image of Mega Gengar's legs. I thought I could pull up the sprite in Pokemon Home and grab it from there, but it doesn't have legs in Pokemon Home. It just fades into nothingness. I have a capture card in my 3DS, so I could have pulled it up in one of the 3DS games and taken a screen cap there. But instead, I decided to try and draw it and wasted like 4 more hours than necessary just so I could show you what Mega Gengar's legs look like. So, you're welcome.
Well, I mean, your legs would be... You would want that to be folded into nothingness if you couldn't.
Maybe. Kabuto. A Pokemon that was resurrected from a fossil found in an ancient seabed, unable to right itself if it is flipped over. It literally just makes me think of a turtle, which is so sad. Like, if you see Kabuto on his back, please flip it over. Also, it reminded me of this, which we're gonna watch until it ends. Okay, hold on. And he made it. Sylveon. It emits a soothing aura from its ribbon-shaped organs. It wraps these appendages around quarrelers to instantly restore calm to the situation. So basically, Sylveon is like a personified or Pokemonified get along shirt that you put kids in when they're fighting to get them to calm down, like this one. Only it's much more effective since Sylveon is like magic and stuff. And now we are moving on to the terrifying Pokemon, or the terrifying Pokédex entries, rather. This is the section you've probably been waiting for because this is the one that everyone's always waiting for. These are the spooky, scary ones that could keep you up at night. It's overwhelmingly ghost types, but not all terrifying entries belong to ghost types. 4 of them are ghosts, but at other cons, it's going to be a different combination. So, Haunter. If you get the feeling of being watched in darkness when nobody is around, Haunter is there. Yeah. The creepiest thing about this is how matter of fact it is. It's not even a suggestion. It's not like, it could be Haunter. There's a good chance it's Haunter. No, it is Haunter. Haunter is there. Coupled with other entries mentioning that a single lick from Haunter will slowly kill you, I think this would legitimately give me nightmares if Pokemon are real.
Mm-hmm. That would definitely
You
give
feel
me...
like you're being watched?
It's Hunter.
Haunter's there.
Yeah.
He's here. He's watching you. Cacturn. If a traveler is going through the desert in the thick of night, Cacturn will follow in a ragtag group. The Pokemon are biding their time, waiting for the traveler to tire and become incapable of moving. This is absolutely terrifying. Imagine you're lost in a desert, trying to find civilization, and a group of humanoid shadows just starts following you in the dark, and more are joining them, and you're getting tired. Yeah, no, like this is actually the worst. This is legit horror.
Yeah, I'd say it's one of the worst.
Yeah. Frostlass. This one could be the worst if you're a man. When it finds humans or Pokemon it likes, it freezes them and takes them to its chilly den where they become decorations. Frostlass is based on a Yukiona, so I could have put this in the educational section, but I didn't. Yukiona is a yokai that takes the form of a woman and is depicted in a lot of anime, so you've probably seen her at some point. There are a lot of legends about Yukiona. Some make you feel bad for her, and some are really creepy, but I'm going to focus more on the creepiness of this Pokedex entry than on the educational aspect, because this one freaks me out. It takes people it likes and kills them to add them to his collection, frozen for eternity, so it can just gaze upon them. That's chilling. No pun intended. So, side note, a lot of Pokedex entries mention it specifically targets human men. So, men, be careful. Or don't. I'm not your mom. Litwick. The flame on its head keeps its body slightly warm. This Pokemon takes lost children by the hand to guide them to the spirit world. So when I read this, I thought, oh, that's kind of cute and very sad, because I interpreted lost children as children who were already dead, and Litwick was just being a helpful guide. But then it slowly dawned on me that, no,
That's not the whole story.
These are living children whose souls it's stealing for its own nourishment, according to other Pokedex entries. So, it's cute, but no.
Yeah.
Palosands. This is the creepiest of all, I think. Buried beneath the castle are masses of dried up bones from those whose vitality it has drained. So this one just straight up tells you it murders you, and I kind of respect that. Like, hey, if you get too close, it drains your life and sucks you up underneath it, and you'll be added to its collection of dried up bones at some point. Sounds great. Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for being straightforward about it. And that's it. Thank you for tuning in. We have our other pre-recorded panel. Let's talk about Deck's Spooky Scary Edition as well, and that one is going to be focusing only on the terrifying Pokedex entries, so there will be a little bit of overlap, but not a whole lot. Be sure to check that out, and we will hopefully see you at our live programming as well, or see you at other cons. All right. Thank you, guys.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Okay.